maybe get out of it because it is a white kit, and we all know white kits can get stained.
Yeah, easy.
But that's actually the kit we're rating tonight, which is the Loudoun United. It's called the Light Kit here. And honestly, if this pops up, that's way zoomed in. This is if you know me on the show, and I think Austin and Foss, you all definitely know this, I am a good sucker for a white kit. And this, for aesthetically, for me to wear, I love kits like this. It won't do well grade wise. I keep saying that every time I come upon these white kits, but I'll rock these all day, every day, because they just look good. They're the simple kits of my collection, and I love to rock them. So, and I love what they kind of did with the absence of the black and then a little bit of the fading with the gradients, the stripes down below. But that's, before I get more into details, that's my initial take on this kit.
Yeah, I really like how they did this, almost with the pinstripes, but then you have the Pegasus throughout the kit. It's kind of hard to see from a distance. It's like the shadow kit from last year. It's in there, and that's kind of my bread and butter that I just love, is that defined detailing, the little pieces in there. Yeah, there you go. So you see all the different stripes, but then on the white stripes throughout the middle, you see the Pegasus going through. I absolutely love it. This is my type of white kit. White kit with the fine detailing in there.
Yeah.
If I had to give one critique, it's that I would have liked for there to have been a little bit more black. Specifically, where we're zoomed in right now, Capelli has that kind of triangle insert.
Yeah.
And that's kind of odd. It reminds me of hockey jerseys often have that sort of insert.
That's true.
But here, I would have rather have seen like the whole V-neck collar be black, because then that would kind of balance off the sleeve cuffs. I have found myself collecting black and white kits. That seems to be a soft spot or a weak spot for me. But specifically, it's when you have that black in the collar and black in the sleeve trim, it kind of frames it really nicely.
Yeah.
And here, I feel like it's a missed opportunity. It's different, and I'll give them credit for that. But that black, why do our eyes need to be drawn to that little section on the collar? That's the least interesting part. But because of that little black bit, it kind of overshadows some of the other things that are going on. So, I think similarly, I do like that it's not just a plain white kit, that they have the Pegasus stripes, but it does seem pretty basic. If you would do this for any other team, just take their main logo or animal or whatever icon and repeat it. It's pretty basic in terms of creativity, but it is effective.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point that you were giving Fox there earlier. Like, it is kind of like faded a little bit, the gray, that Pegasus shape, because of what Austin more sophisticatedly said, with the colors and like where your attention goes to. You don't quite see that right away. You see kind of the black and white contrast more than you see some of those nicer details. And I think that could certainly be a choice here.
Is this going to be paired with white shorts or black shorts?
That's a great question. And let me see their photos that they have.
Because on the left there, they're wearing them with black pants, and that kind of works because you do have that additional black to contrast. I'm doubting that that's what they'll end up wearing in game if this is going to be an away kit, right?
I'm going to look it up here. Yeah, I'm going to look it up here. But Fox, you want to give your scores while I go try to dig some actual match footage?
Yeah. So design and aesthetics, I don't know, I went 5 on this just because I feel like everything works really well design-wise. Now, I completely hear what Austin is saying. And even FFS DCU says that he would have, or they would have loved a different design pattern than the Pegasus, in their opinion. And I get what you're saying, but also when it goes to authenticity and tradition, that's why I give this a 4, because this is something that Loudoun does. is they utilize their badge, their crest, their Pegasus, and it's always some sort of pattern throughout it. Does it shout out to the city or the town? Not necessarily, but I mean, is it that creative? I guess now that I think about it, no, you know, but it's what they do, and I appreciate that that's the tradition that they're building with that. Uh, but then visual details and then the execution part, this is where I agreed with Austin. I feel like this is where it went down. It could clearly be better. Maybe those parts be darker. I do agree with the color. The black triangle is very off-putting. Like, just make the whole collar black. So then, because then it matches the capelli squares, it matches the sleeve cuff. It all makes sense then. Then innovation and impact, I gave it 3. Is it really that innovative that they're just using the pattern of their badge? No, they've done it last year. So, and are we going to remember this in the years? How much impact this is going to have? Probably not going to hit home. So, but overall, I mean, it's a strong 4 for me. I feel like any Loudoun fan should want this kit, and some collectors, especially if you're a white kit collector, I feel like you would want to pick this up.
I would agree with that. And Austin, to your point, they do wear white shorts with them, so not black.
Good enough.
So at least I found it when they were playing Lexington, who was wearing their all black jersey with that green. So they wore the white, and it was white on white. So I hope they have the option for black shorts. So I think that would look really good. Yeah. So as Bob said, this is, he gave it a 4, which is honestly a pretty solid white kit. For a white kit, this is pretty good.
And for me, because I am not a white kit collector.
That is fair. That is fair.
As I'm wearing a white kit. But
but for me here, I have a little different style. Obviously, I would rock this every day. And as I said, I love this white kit. They always look good. But I gave it a 3 for design and aesthetics. I think it looks smooth-ish overall. I think it works for an away kit. And I think that's the important fact here. It's a white kit with some detailing and a little splash of color, if you count the black as a color. In this instance, and it's not just completely white. So I'm okay with that. Even though, as Spots point out, they use the Pegasus in the crest throughout, kind of the stripe pattern. I only gave it a 2 there for authenticity and tradition. With the visual details and execution, I gave it a 3 as well. This is just a simple white kit with a little bit of detail. It's not anything like super over the top or granular as you kind of did see in some of the other kits across the USL. With the innovation, it's just a white kit. I gave it a 3, probably a little generous there, but as it is basically just a white kit, and most people probably forget about this unless you're from the area. So the 275 for me with Fox's 4, it's a solid 338 for a white kit. Honestly, we've rated much, much worse, and I would be more than okay with this kit, and I would definitely pick this up. So that's just a me thing.
It's a clean kit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I had a crazy idea just now as you were talking, Brett, looking at FFSDCU's comment. What if they had taken the pinwheel and put that as a really faint gray pattern instead of the stripes? With how popular the pinwheel was, it's an opportunity to take something that's a really loud design and give it a second life by making it really subtle. Might not have worked, but just something else that would have been a little bit more exciting than, you have a lot of Pegasi, I don't know what the plural is, in a straight line, right? That's pretty minimal. You could have put them diagonally, or you could have done something else, but the pinwheel would be kind of like the ultimate version of that. Hey, let's take something crazy and let's put it on, since it's going to be muted anyway. That kind of makes it a little bit tame. Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing that I wish they would have played a little bit more with either of the kits that they released this year, was that pinwheel again.
Yeah.
It's low-key kind of a cult classic, last year's home kit, and I wish they would have just kept with that. At least hints of it here or there in their 2 kits they released this year. They didn't quite do that. So, and I'm totally on board with that idea. Any quick thoughts otherwise, Austin or Fox? You have something?
I'm all
Yeah, I
good.
was just wondering though, like if they did the pinwheel, if they hit home with the pinwheel again, would people be like, oh, they did that last year?
As long as they
We've
did
already
it,
seen this.
as long as they did it differently, I don't think we would be saying that. If they would have done the exact same thing, yes, I think there could be some argument for that. But I think if they would have used it in a different creative way,
Yeah.
I don't think we'd have that conversation.
I think if anything now, just the fact that it's Pegasus, like we get it. That's your thing, and you should be proud of it, but it is very repetitive here. So
Yeah.
I think anything else would have been a nice, well, at least they tried something different,
Yeah. And it is a white kit too. As we always say, white kits tend to be born anyway. So I'm happy they at least put some effort into making it not just a white kit. So, which we've seen more teams do, but still far too many don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with this here, I think what was this retailed at? I am looking at my score. Yeah, at $85 from Capelli, you're not going to go wrong with that. And especially from there, you might even get a discount if you're a season ticket holder. I know Indy does that. This comes out to be a $39.71 kit value, which is pretty solid. It's not the bottom; it's somewhere in the middle, which is exactly where this kit ranking comes from. And I think that's a good score for a white kit, I'd say. So, I mean, we've seen better, and there are 3 others that are at least better than this. So, I don't expect that to be too crazy to think a white kit isn't high upon many people's lists.
People don't worry about the white kits yet.
Yeah. So, as FFS, the CU says once again, agree if they utilize the pinwheel, but made it slightly different from last year, it would have been fine with that. And I think that's the sentiment. And I think that's one of the things that we've kind of talked about here, Fox, you and I, is teams who try to build an identity with their kits. And they had that with the pinwheel last year. I'd like to see that continue going forward.
Maybe next year.